Today on Jeep News, let's talk about some brand new trims on the Jeep Gladiator, the state of Jeep as a whole, as well as a cool new vehicle that might kind of give some hints at what Wrangler needs to do in its playbook. This is going to be a fun one, so stay tuned on this episode of Dirt Road CRED Jeep News. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a minute since we've been in our shop. We've been all over the country, it seems like. We just got back from Daytona Jeep Beach last Monday. We had an absolutely excellent time with all of you guys. It was so awesome just to meet up with everyone. So if you're watching this video and we had a chance to meet and chat, thank you guys so much for stopping. But while we were down there, we saw a lot of really cool things. Not only did we get to go behind the scenes at Jeep Beach, we got to introduce our new four-door or our full vehicle lighting kit, which Ryan, you can show some B-roll here. That's going to be launching in a few days, about a week from this. So get ready for it. Our fingers have been cramping up by making all these kits for you guys. Either way though, down at Jeep Beach, we saw a lot of cool stuff. So the biggest thing is we got to check out the Jeep Performance Parts booth and the Jeep booth as a whole. Check out the concept vehicles that we saw from Moab and actually get to go hands-on and see all the small fine details. We got to see that Rewind edition, which that gave me a ton of cool ideas for some wrap ideas, and also just showed what Jeep could do as more of a vehicle that you would have found in the 80s and 90s or something you remembered as a childhood. I remember reading off of that text board and it was nailed, spot on with what I viewed as a child, seeing the Jeeps roll around, topping doors off just like that. One of the cool ones though was the Convoy. So that Jeep Gladiator with the front clip of the old school Jeep J10 Gladiators on there, that was a really neat build. And it had a lot of hidden features on there. Now, I don't know if that front clip is going to ever come to production. It looked very much like it could. It kind of went on there really smooth, and honestly, I really did like it. But obviously, the hood was fiberglass and kind of a custom build out. But what was hiding under the hood was just a base 3.6 liter V6 automatic trans. And after all of those email surveys we read, as well as all of your responses to Jeep's question, there's like no doubt in my mind these things need to come with a 5.7. And I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but that is just something that it seems like everyone wants in the Gladiator, including ourselves here at Dirt Road CRED. And we're just really not sure why Jeep isn't doing it. But speaking of those concepts, it is kind of neat. It's kind of neat. I'll give this like twofold. They're coming out with some different trims. So behind the scenes, we've had some good friends of ours texting us, Anthony down at Sands Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. He sent us some photos of the High Tide trim. So a High Tide trim is coming to the Jeep Gladiator. It's going to have leather interior, Willys suspension, paint match fender flares, Willys wheels and tires, I believe, on there. But he's got one coming in down at Sands, so we'll be able to drive down there and check it out. I actually just saw the VIN populate on their website. But that's an interesting trim because I remember ordering all those High Tides. Ryan, you remember when we ordered those and we trying to get the beach editions for people? The High Tide on the Wrangler came with the Extreme Recon package, came with the 35s, and the Gladiator doesn't. I thought, and Anthony actually said this, what a perfect opportunity to have the 35s, the Extreme Recon package, come out on the Gladiator and help sell these things a little bit. But for whatever reason, they're not doing it. It's got to be something with crash rating, safety, tow rating. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe tow, because the load range is a C on those tires and the Gladiator tows more than a Wrangler. Maybe that has something to do with it. I have no idea. But either way, would have loved to see the Extreme Recon on there. The High Tide's pretty cool. It's a decal on the hood. They do the leather stitch with a High Tide on there. But let me explain what other trim, and then I'll talk to you about our feelings with these special edition trims. Another one that's rumored to be coming out, our friend Tyler sent us over. Now, this is called the Dark Sky Group. It's like a sales code, the Dark Sky trim on a Sport S. Now, what that comes with is a Mojave hood, blacked out accents on there, and a couple other little things on the badges. I'll have to go check on the phone, Ryan. You can pull up the image here of what it comes with. But it's like $14.95, and in my opinion, that's a pretty good deal. I know what you think, Ryan.
This is replacing the Nighthawk, because that one.
The Nighthawk was a good trim. That was like a slept-on trim. Like Nighthawk Edition came with paint match fenders, paint match roof, 20s, rock rails, a little bit of paint match on the bumpers, and it was like $37,000. I saw one in Mojito that they had there. I saw one in 41. It was a great trim, but they got rid of them. And what I think they were doing with the Nighthawks is they were using the 20-inch wheels from the Gladiator high altitude that they stopped. That was the same wheels. So maybe they're like, let's try and sneak him on this Sport to get rid of him. Maybe that's what they're doing with the Dark Sky. Are they coming out with a new hood? Are they coming out with a new vented hood? And they're just like, let's pump some Mojave hoods out. But I think it's personally a really good buy because I've tried to price out a Mojave hood for Ryan's Jeep. and I want to say it was about $1,500 before paint. So you get the hood, you get some blacked out graphics, you get some blacked out accents on there for the same price as what you would swap one on. So I think that's a pretty good value there. And it's one of those things that's just add on that sales code and now you get an even better looking Jeep. Now, is that a full trim or a full special edition? I don't think so. I think it's a hood and some graphics on there and maybe a little bit of a badge. And that leads me into the next thing is, why aren't these Jeep trims really as good as they used to be? You know, I don't want to say that like coming at Jeep at all, but in reality, a lot of them are like, especially the Big Bear one that they came out for in California, it's like a decal package and maybe some stitching on the leather. Back in the JK days, as well as the JL days, they were really pumping out some cool trims that actually had a lot going on. They did Polar editions, Arctic editions, they did Moab on the JL. They did X Games backcountry with AEV bumpers, Red Rock edition, Rubicon X, Hard Rock, Call of Duty MW3. That was really neat. That had AEV bumpers, and that Jeep was actually in Call of Duty. Like, I think there was one of the, I don't know, I'm not a huge Call of Duty guy, but I think that Jeep was in there. They did a lot of co-branding, a lot of licensing, a lot of things with pop culture, and I think that they need to get back to that. Because even early in the JL days, the Moab edition in 2019, steel bumpers, Rubicon hood, but not on a Rubicon. And then they had the Islander edition, white top, white dash, custom stitching on there with the blue from the original Islander seats. They were doing some really neat things, and I'm not going to say they haven't been because they came out with a 41 edition, but it was just in the 4xe. That was probably the most I've seen them do with an edition. Ryan, you can agree. Custom wheels.
Yeah.
That was a lot. That was really cool done. And what we even said off camera is, would Jeep be able to like make some of these custom trims and maybe limit them to like 1,000 or 2,000, like the Beach Edition? People wanted that. That Beach Edition sold out really quick. So could Jeep kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit, maybe make like 1,000 of those rewinds? 1,000 two-door rewinds in purple the same way. Make the graphics a little bit easier for them to do, but that's what you get. I think it would sell pretty well.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think, well, I mean, we see some of these other editions come out and they're only either for just a certain model trim. They're not doing it on anything else. So they're limiting a lot of the trims with the package. So like the backcountry?
Yeah.
That just came out too.
And we got a bunch of photos, once again, from Anthony. He said it just like I would say. It was like a hodgepodge of just like all these parts. It's a 4xe with Sahara body, Rubicon fenders, Rubicon steel bumpers, 20s from a high altitude, all-terrain tires, leather. It's kind of all over the place. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, let's just slap it. And I want to say the one he got in was like $68,000 to $70,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're pushing it up there. And now it's in juice, so it's bright, but...
Yeah, I will say the blue accents look good with the juice.
They do.
I think the 4xe and the juice, I think that's a good combination.
But, like, the edition, it just doesn't feel like an edition to me. It feels like, let's slap some Rubicon fenders and some all-terrains. And, like, that, I think that kind of ploy or that style doesn't really work anymore. I think there is a ton of interest in these kind of concept vehicles, or like the Rewind. Like, I keep bringing that one up because that was an easily replicable vehicle. You could do a two-door Extreme Recon in purple or like two different colors and just have the graphics package, and this is what it comes with, and we're doing 1,000 of each color. And that would be it. And I think they would sell out. I don't know. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah,
Something like that?
Yeah, you got to limit the...
A purple or like a bikini, or do like the Islander and have like 4 colors, special trims,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And when they're done, they're done. But you just run a whole assembly line through. So that's kind of our state of what we think Jeep needs to do with trims. And I want to hear your opinion down below. What trim do you think should make a comeback? And then also, or do you have a special idea for another trim? And I know a lot of people are down below going to say, give me a base stripped down two-door, because a lot of people have been saying that. But let us know down below in the comments. But the base stripped down two-door leads us to our next segment in this video. But speaking of that two-door base stripped down Jeep, we're going to talk about that here in a second. But before we do so, we would like to thank today's sponsor of the video, Onyx Off-Road. They have been friends and partners of this channel for quite some time, and we absolutely love using their application when we're both near and far. They've got all sorts of trail mapping availability on their website. They've got it online, as well as they've got it on your mobile app, and it's even CarPlay and Android Auto compatible. We were just using it down in Daytona a little bit, and even last year when we went through Ocala and got to see all those beautiful sights, we used Onyx Maps to make sure we didn't get lost and knew how to get home. A huge thanks to Onyx Off-Road for sponsoring our channel, and if you guys want to save a little bit on your subscription, be sure to click down below in the description. Speaking of that two-door base stripped down model that everyone wants, that leads us in to kind of this next segment, which I think is going to be quite a bit of discussion here. If you guys haven't been following automotive news, a new vehicle was launched for pre-order and production, and that is the Slate. Now, this vehicle, I've been texted a few times about this from our good friends Josh and Lacey. They sent me videos on the train ride up, and I had a chance to kind of see this vehicle, check it out, feel out who they are as a company. They are backed by Jeff Bezos, so they've got a pretty good backer when it comes to the funds. But this vehicle in a whole, the Slate, I love the name right away because it's a blank slate. And that's what they're looking for. Something that you can customize, but that gives you the ability to add on what you want to it and not pay for the extras. And when I say not pay for the extras, this thing is stripped down. So a little bit of base on what the Slate is. It is a two-wheel drive electric truck slash SUV vehicle that's kind of changing up the market a little bit. The entire exterior of the vehicle is either made out of like roto-molded or thermoplastic on the entire vehicle. It comes in one color, and that's slate gray. And the thing about plastic is that, if you guys don't know this, back in the day, Ryan, you've seen these when we were in high school, the Saturns, a lot of those Saturn views, those small bubbly ones, most of the vehicle was plastic. The hoods, the doors, everything. They didn't dent. They would scratch and sometimes break the paint, but they lived forever because you couldn't dent the paint. What I think is neat about the Slate is they took that in consideration. It drastically reduces the weight of the vehicle. It reduces the repairs because say you do scratch or somehow rip apart a fender, you pull it off and put a new one on and it's the same color. What I also like about the exterior is that they've designed it specifically to be wrapped. So our good buddy Jordan here locally, he would love that because he wraps a ton of vehicles and they can be hard to customize. The Slate has creases, it has seam lines, and it is designed to be wrapped in either a business logo, a custom color, and really turn it into what you want. And then the nice thing is, once again, you dent a fender, you rip off the hood, you just pop it back off, rewrap it, and put it on. Now, the inside of this thing is where it really gets stripped down. I don't even think there's carpet in it. I think it's just a base kind of like washout floor. There's no infotainment system. There's no speakers, and they are crank-up windows, Ryan. Correct me if I'm wrong. We'll go on the website. Crank-up manual windows, much like Ryan's Jeep. And what that does is it gives you the ability to add on what you'd like. We all know in the year 2025, you're all using an infotainment system that's basically the size of your phone anyways. So what Slate does is they give you the ability, they have a universal phone mount on all of these, and they're just like, if you want to listen to music, you can either buy the speakers through them or just throw a Bluetooth speaker in there and have your phone there. That's pretty neat because I've got an old Dodge Ram plow truck and I do the same thing. I put a JBL up on the dash and just connect my phone to it because the radio in there I think still accepts cassette players. And I don't need much, I just want a little bit of music. The big thing about this one that I really like is it starts life as a base truck. It's kind of a truck single cab configuration, but you can modular assemble it and you can actually turn it into an SUV with a back kind of hardtop or even a fastback hardtop and then add extra seats in the back as you see fit. So this thing, you could honestly store pieces back in your shop and use it. Hey, we're gonna go to the beach this weekend. Let me throw the seats in. I gotta haul some mulch. Let me take these seats out. I absolutely love that fact. The coolest thing too is, according to their website, after EV incentives, is it comes in at like $20,000 for a base one. That's a pretty cheap vehicle. In the current economy, I remember when the Maverick came out, that was like $19,000, and I absolutely loved that truck. And it was just such a shame back then because there was such manufacturing constraints that they couldn't get those delivered for a few years. But I think what this indicates right now is that I know this is a US based, and I believe it's a USA made vehicle as well, but it indicates the shift in the car market. It also indicates in a shift in what people are looking for. And I think Slate kind of took this and was like, here's what people want. They don't want all these extras. They don't want all these goodies. And we're not going to make them pay for them if they don't want. We'd rather get the customer and then be able to add all that on in the future. So what I really like is their motto with that. And I'm curious on, especially your guys' opinion, how that could translate to the Wrangler, the Gladiator, to Jeep's lineup. I know it would be hard because, once again, this Slate vehicle is an EV. So it's an EV, it's two-wheel drive, it's lower to the ground. It doesn't have the same capabilities of a Wrangler or a Gladiator. But does Jeep need to take a lesson out of this playbook and start to make either a base Wrangler or a base Gladiator that just doesn't have anything?
But it just allows you to take the top and doors off.
That's it.
And then just allow me to put whatever I need in it.
That's it. Nothing else. No fancy this, no fancy that. I mean, I do like the curtain airbags that Jeep has, but the Slate has airbags all over it. It meets all the modern safety standards. It just doesn't have anything else, which not only reduce the cost, reduces the complexity of fixing the thing. And an EV, there's nothing to really fix. But what I think Jeep needs to do is kind of the same. They need to make a Wrangler or a Gladiator that's base, that's stripped down. Maybe don't even put a radio in it, to be honest, Ryan. Just put a phone mount right in the front. Put a big cubby there. How neat would that be? And we got Bullet Point. They could send us enough phone mounts. I could slap my iPad in there. There you go. I've got everything, and slap a nice JBL boombox in the back. Not worry about the carpet because there is none. Not worry about the floorboards. It's just a simple vehicle. And that's what ultimately everyone has been arguing, that, especially Jeep corporate, that the Jeep Gladiator two-door, that they keep bringing the honcho, that concept out, that no one would buy it because they don't want that kind of truck. I think people would buy it if the price point was right, and also if it was stripped down enough that they could customize it and not feel as guilty as I know you and I both do when we take our Jeeps out, that we're destroying $60, $70, $80, $90,000 vehicles out on the trail. Something in the mid-20s, you don't care. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, I forgot to bring it up, all the Slate's body panels, how they're plastic like that, Jeeps might as well. They should just do it, because if I push on my door a little bit too hard, everything flexes, bows, this, that, and the other. They've got the corrosion. Just make it plastic. I don't know. It'd be cooler off-road. It wouldn't scratch. It would just kind of rub off of it, and then it would last a long time. But I know a lot of the Jeep guys would be like, I'm not buying a plastic Jeep. But in reality, is it much worse than what's there now? You know? But I think it's an interesting thing, because as we're seeing all this, we're also preparing for hopefully the 2028 Jeep Wrangler launch. And I'm not sure what's going to happen, to be honest with you. It was funny, though. The other day I ripped apart, I had to pull my washer fluid out and put a new one in, an actual tank from Motobelt. And it got me thinking, like, just looking at one piece on the Wrangler, right? Just that washer fluid reservoir, how complex it was, the pump, the filter, the screen, this. And I do have a great appreciation for how much these engineers have to do to get these vehicles ready. And at the same token as well, I really think that they're nervous about what to do to launch this Wrangler. As well as that, they're kind of nervous to probably release the 2026. We haven't heard anything about it yet. There hasn't been any rumors about it, what's going to come out, what's not going to come out. And dare I say, with the launch of some of these cheaper vehicles, with the introduction of a heck of a lot more tariffs in a bunch of different countries, as well as just the current state of the economy, I think they're holding off a little bit, Ryan. I don't think that it's going to be something we see here within the next few months. I would say they're probably going to try and get rid of some of this 2025 inventory, even the 24 inventory, and unfortunately even 23 inventory I can still find online. And they've just got a lot of soul searching to do. And I think that starts with really talking to your audience base, because what I like about Slate is that they actually got the opinions. They got what people wanted. They saw a kind of gap in the market, and they're filling it, and they're not worried about adding on heated and cooled seats. They're worried about just giving you a cool truck. So I think that's what Jeep needs to take a second, go back a little bit. I'm not saying scratch the high altitude, scratch the Sahara, the Rubicon, all that. There's a market for all those guys, but I'm saying there is still a market for that base, that stripped down, that true Jeep.
One wants to get in the hobby.
Get into the hobby, be able to work on it yourself, be able to rip the body panels off. Maybe a modular body like that where you could pull each panel off, be great for the aftermarket. But what I want to hear from you guys is let us know down below in the comments what you think. You got to check out the Slate truck, because we were on the website looking at that. We actually pre-ordered one of the Scout EVs, and honestly, like the way the market's been, I think that truck's going to end up coming in at $65,000, $70,000. I don't think that's something we want to get. I don't know, Ryan. I mean, we'll see when it comes out. If it's 40 grand, something like that, we'll maybe get it. But the market's shifting a little bit. People are realizing, like, I don't want a car as much as a house, and who am I to talk about? I have that Jeep out there. But either way, though, the Slate, you got to check it out. I think that's a really cool vehicle. Maybe we'll throw $50 down and just do it, because when they come out, I don't want to be like caught with myself not having that $50 and being able to get one and then like wrap it to road cred and go do something fun with it. But yeah, let us know down below in the comments what you think that means for the car market, as well as a little bit with the economy. But what do you think Jeep could do to kind of mimic that a little bit, or take a page out of their playbook? I want to hear about that down below in the comments. Also, what do you think of that new juice color? Because that new backcountry was in juice. We're very excited to get ours in, and I just think that's going to be a really bright color on camera, and I do really like it. Ryan said it with the blue. The blue looks good with it. We're going to have to play around, get some ideas on what's going to look good with the Juice Gladiator that we're building. But until next time, though, I think that was about it for today. For the trims, talking a little bit about what we've got going on. So it's the beginning of summer here. We're getting ready. We're getting kind of heightened up for the Jeep events. The end of April is always stressful for us because we're heading down to Jeep Beach, and then we spent the whole week before prepping these 4-door light kits. So I'm really hoping you guys enjoy those when they're launching next week. So, but yeah, up from that, we might go out to Bantam for a day. Ryan, we're debating going up to there. That show's kind of slowed down a little bit. Jersey Jeep Invasion, we'll be down there, probably the same thing, maybe a day. And then big one is Smoky Mountains. So, and then also whatever, we've been invited to a couple D-Day parades, a couple Memorial Day parades that I think we're gonna take the 2-door in. But let us know if there's a show or event in the Northeast that you think is worth checking out. We also got invited just the other week to, it's like the Branson, Missouri Jeep show. And I think that would be a pretty good time. So we're gonna check that out. We're gonna explore that a little bit. And yeah, until next time though, Ryan's behind the camera. I'm here talking to you. We want you to get out there and earn yours.